Welcome to the YNE podcast.
So there is a video making rounds on the social media, and where a pastor was trying to raise money and asked the usher to shut the door. That is my own confusion. Why would he ask them to shut the door? We wanted to talk about it and also hear what you think, or what you have to say about it. What do you think? What do you think was good?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the video. I believe the pastor was just being into the moment and he was trying to get people to be part of the fundraising. But looking at it in another way, I don't think that's the right way to go about it. Giving should be voluntary. We should never be forcing people to give, especially in the church. It should always be voluntary. And not a lot of people can afford to give. In this video, well, I've seen a lot of reactions on this video on the internet. A lot of people were saying that the pastor was trying to hold his congregation hostage to be able to get some money from. I didn't watch the whole video, but just that short clip that's making rounds on the internet is what's really causing an uproar and all around the internet. And to me, the people should not be forced to give. They should never feel like they're under duress, especially now that we're in a tough economic situations. I don't know what the pastor was trying to, raise money for. I don't know the whole backstory, but giving should always be voluntary. Even the Bible supports voluntary giving as well. We should never force people to give. They should never give under compulsion. They should give as the Lord has lead into their hearts. And if they don't want to give, it's their prerogative. We should never force anyone to give. We should never make people feel not enough, especially when they don't have. And I'm sure not all the people in the congregation that day would have given something. I believe the video was probably recorded in 2024 and it's just making rounds on the internet now. So giving should always be voluntary. I don't think anyone should be forced to give, and the pastor should not be telling the ushers to shut the door and not let anyone go out until they drop something. That's embarrassing, but I just felt that the pastor was in on the moment and it was just trying to motivate people to give. Because don't get me wrong, a lot of people they need motivation too before they can drop their hard-earned money, whether it's under duress or not. Some people like to be motivated. Some people like to be told if you do this will happen. If you don't do this won't happen. So it depends on the side that you're on. It depends on what you see. But for me, I think giving should be voluntary, and no one should be forced to give, especially in these tough economic situations that we're in. What do you think?
And you're completely right. But let me say this before I start. If everybody in that church is like me, nobody will give $1. Yeah, because if I was in that church, in the church that day, or in that church that day, yeah, I will have my headphone on, and I will not even hear one thing that he's saying, because one thing I hate, whether it's from the church, whether it's from individuals, whether it's from family and friends, is trying to emotionally blackmail me to give. You will never get nothing out of me, because I will even play along with you. Yeah, it's not going to happen. You can never blackmail me to give, or give whenever I feel like I need to give. Yeah, but trying to, to run around the corner, trying to, because that I would say is stealing. The young folk would not fall for that, but the older people, like the older folks, they will fall for that for real, and this is the same. This is the way these a lot of these men of God or pastors has been, extorting money from these older, senior citizens, and I think that is completely wrong, and that is not the way to go about it. And if somebody decide to take up the case, and that pastor, they could charge that pastor for kidnapping, because you essentially told the ushers to shut the door, and nobody is sure of your intentions. Yeah, he could have been, if anybody tried to take that case up, they could charge him for kidnapping. Because what is kidnapping? Restricting somebody's movement. That is it. That is what it is in America. In Nigeria, you could you could give it another definition, but when you try to restrict somebody's movement, and then, yeah, because you told people to shut it up, and which means you already restrict their movement. They can't leave. So yeah, that's kidnapping, and the pastor is lucky that he's still walking around free. And yeah, well, talking about the scheming and all of that stuff, yeah, if everybody in that church is like me, he will not get anything because I don't like to be emotionally blackmailed. Because gone are those days in Nigeria where they will tell you if you don't give this and this will happen to you, if you do this and this will happen to you. And if we really go back to those things they said last time, nothing really happened to us for not giving. I don't have. Even if I have and I don't feel like giving, you shouldn't be forcing your way into my pocket to get, to take what I have. And I think that's completely wrong. And I think there should be, a better approach to that. Giving should be voluntary. And not like you said, nobody should be forced to give. Nobody should be compelled to give. Just let people do what they feel is is the best for them. And yeah, just stay away from people's pocket. And yeah, I think that's what I would say about that.
We don't really know what happened. We don't know if the ushers ended up shutting the door or ended up restricting the movement of the congregation. The pastor might just be saying it for saying sake. Maybe the ushers didn't actually lock the doors, or maybe they didn't shut the doors. It was just trying to say it to motivate people to give. But to the point you made about restricting people's movement, yeah, that is kidnapping. But I think that's also extreme. If you walked into his church, you were there for a reason. You supported his ministry, or you're a supporter of his ministry, you're a supporter of his. So I don't expect people to take you to that extreme and try to sue him for kidnapping. But I believe the pastor was in a moment, was just trying to motivate people to give. And if you listen carefully, he was also making jokes about saying that they had nowhere to go other than to go eat lunch. So it was just a way for him to motivate people to give. And again, a lot of people needs to be motivated. They need to be motivated before they can give. Again, giving should be voluntary. We should not be forced. Giving should not be done under compulsion. The Bible says that the Lord loves a cheerful giver. So, and supporting one's ministry, supporting one's cause should be voluntary. If you're selling me something, if you're selling me your course, you're asking me to support your cause. I don't see a reason for me to support it. I wouldn't be part of it. I wouldn't even come support you. So I'm sure the people that were there supported his ministry. People that were there, they love him, and they will continue to love him no matter how much backlash he got from this fundraiser. I guess it's part of the system. It's part of the church ministry. The church will raise money. The church needs money for daily operations, for maintenance, salaries. They're gonna get it one way or the other. It's always a good thing to give, but don't force people to give. That's my take.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong, but there has been a lot of instances. In fact, I've heard a lot of people say their parents. It's always women or it's always old women. I don't think they can really play. They can really play that game or this kind of game with the older men. They always go to the women because women are, excuse me, some women are very emotional. They are able to play them and then get that money away from them. I have seen a couple of people that said their mother spent all their time in the church, gave a lot of money to the church, but sometimes got into problem. In fact, I heard one lady say she paid her tithe diligently, she supported the church, but at some point she became homeless and then she ran to the church and the church couldn't help her. They told her that, they don't really have anything, at that time. But I couldn't verify that information, independently verify that information. But I could see that to be true. A lot of times you support all these first you support the church, and when it's time for the church to support you, they are not there to support you. In fact, when I was back in Nigeria, when we were very active in Baptist church, there were a lot of instances where somebody would die When a Christian at funeral is always cheaper compared to the traditional people try to bury the person. In fact, the church will say they need to pay up. The family need to pay up before they will come and bury their parents, come and bury their loved ones. You want us to come and bury this person? Yeah, you need to pay up. She hasn't done this, or he hasn't done this, he hasn't done this, he hasn't done this. This is a bill. You need to pay up. If you don't pay up, we're not coming. And I think that is, wrong. Yeah, I believe that church needs to run. The light in the church, it runs with money, the sound, the good music, the ambience, everything, needs money. We shouldn't be putting people in a difficult situation or, in a comfortable situation to get the money out of them. Just let people be people. A lot of time, the Assembly of God, they try to tell their members to cut, their coats according to maybe their cloth. But church can also do that. I don't think church should, you know, taking up a responsibility that they cannot really handle, and knowing that their income is not really stable. I think they should be living within their means too. Don't go and carry on a project like millions of dollars worth of project when you know that you don't really have a fixed income. Your income is dependent on what people give. If people are not able to give this month, it means that you are not going to get anything this month. So yeah, why people on individual level, we can cut our budgets, I think church can also do that too. There is no reason why churches should be trying to be too big, maybe to show off, because that can happen as well. There's no reason why we should be trying to, grow rapidly too big. You see some churches, they don't have more than 200 members, but their space can take up to 600 people. There is no reason for that. You Live within your means as a church as well. You can live within your means and be okay and not have to, inconvenience people, to keep up with your lifestyle. Yeah.
I agree with all the points that you raised, but the first one I want to, say something about is the emotional aspect that you said. You said women are very emotional. And I think it's not just women, it's also some of us men too. We are very emotional. And I don't know if you've heard this sister's story on the internet, Real Talk with Auntie Adoni. She shared how a late husband was very active in the church. He was one of the pastors, and he basically financed the church with his own salary. Had it been the woman didn't force him to make some investment to support and the children, they probably wouldn't have had anything when the man passed away. I think the man passed away while the children were still a little younger, and they struggled a lot because the man didn't take care of his health. He believed that the prayers the church leaders will heal him completely. But at the end of the day, the man ended up, losing his life, and the church didn't do much to support them after the husband passed. And that's one of the challenges, we deal with in churches today. I believe the church needs to be more open, and church should not be for profit. Churches are, especially in America, churches are designated as a non-profit organization. But back in Nigeria, we know some churches are registered as a business. So they're in the business of making money. Yeah. People should never be forced to give, but I believe that people should be sensible enough, or people should be smart enough to know what's good for them, to know how much they can afford to give and how much they can afford to support their favorite ministries. And you can support your local church. You can be a blessing to other people by giving out food, giving out money to feed the hungry. And it's also doing the Lord's work. Giving to church is good. Giving to your local church is good. There are some other important ministries out there that a lot of people can give to, which is also good. And also about church, cutting their costs, cutting their coat according to their materials. Where we're from, we know that when a church is big, means that God is in the church. whether you agree or not. If the church is not big, we believe the pastor is not doing well, believe God is not, is not with the pastor. But when you hear of pastors with, big congregation, hey, that pastor is doing very well. The pastor is on fire. He can pray well. He can preach very well. And that's why I love his ministry. We believe that's part of our belief. The bigger the church is, it shows the presence of God in the church. Even if God is not present in the church, even though the pastor might be using some other things to back up his congregation or to increase his congregation, but we believe the bigger the church, the more important the pastor is, the more blessed the congregations are, the more blessed the people going to the church will be. So that's why you see a lot of people trooping in to support big ministries. And that's one thing we also need to shy away from. With big congregation, you have bigger problems, bigger challenges, and pastors are usually constant. When the church is too big, the pastor might not even have time to counsel each of our people, and that might be another problem. And in churches these days, people go to church for the relationship they have with the church leader. It's not about their relationship with God. It's about the relationship with the leader of the church. That's when you see when a church leader passes on to glory, the number of the congregation reduces. It is because they believe in the pastor. It is because they love what the pastor is doing. That's why they are supporting the pastor. And when the pastor is no longer there, the number of the congregants in the church will significantly reduce. We should focus more on God and less on the church leader or the individual at the top. We should do our best to know God, to continue to do right, to continue to follow God's command and be good to our neighbors, be good to our friends, to love each other and follow the preaching of God.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I also like, yeah, you talked about that. I like a small church. I don't really like big church. I know maybe a lot of pastors would not like to hear it because small church means that they're not growing. But I prefer the feel of the small church. Like you said, the pastor will have a time for the members on individual levels. But when the church has maybe massive members, they tends to lose that touch, because I think I like the small church. I like the feel of small church. When I was in Nigeria, our church in the village was very small, and till now it's still very small. I think I prefer it like that, talk to the pastor. If I do not come to church, the pastor will notice that I'm not in the church. Or if somebody is not in the church, the pastor will notice it. If anything is going on, the pastor will quickly, catch it. But when you have a big church, the pastors are not usually able to have those personal relationship with people. And with big church come with a pride, because you think you are doing something very, very exceptional, for you to have gotten to that, to that level. Maybe you have exceptional grace, which could be true, but we don't know. With big church comes with all that stuff, and I still maintain that churches should be prudent and live within their means. There's no reason why yeah, everybody likes music, but there's no reason why you should be going to, invest $20,000, $40,000 in a musical instrument, equipment when, you cannot afford it. On individual level, as individuals, we try to live within our means and not, be in debt and stuff like that. I think church can do that too.
I definitely agree with you. And to the point of, I want to go back to the point of the size of the church. There's a church in California. I forget the name of the church. When the senior pastor, the pastor that founded the church, the founder, when he was alive, he built a 6,000 capacity church in California. And with the 6,000 capacity church, I believe they were having like 2 or 3 services on a Sunday. But as soon as the pastor passed away, the number of the congregants significantly reduced, and they are oddly seen 2,500 people in church every Sunday. So imagine all those big space. It's now a waste because there's nobody to fill it. A lot of people are no longer going to church. These days, a lot of people are going to church online, watching different ministries, giving to different ministries, supporting different ministries out there. So I think it's also important that when a church is growing, it should not grow too big to invest too much in the things that are not sustainable. Imagine a 6,000 capacity auditorium. It takes a lot of money to heat it up. It takes a lot of money to cool it in the summer. So, the amount of money, the amount of income they were seeing when they had 6,000 congregants is different from what they're gonna be seeing with 2,500 congregants. So I definitely agree that the church should not be too big. Church should definitely not be too big.
Yeah, the church should not be too big. And I think they need to be looking into with this tech. I think they need to be branching out into tech. And I think I see a future where people may not be going to physical location for church service. And I think that's what most people should be thinking about again. Yeah. In the near future, I really see where, because if COVID taught us anything, COVID taught us that, you could worship anywhere. And during the COVID, we were worshiping from home and stuff like that. And I still think that get to that point again in the future. Not necessarily by this thing, outbreak of whatever, but I think that's where the future is going. Because let's think about it. So many years ago, we used to clown and laugh at people that were doing like distance schooling, online class, and stuff like that. I can remember vividly when this National Open University was opened in Nigeria. Most people that were attending that university at that time, people were laughing at them. But today, in fact, the the traditional classroom, the traditional school where you go to class and sit down in the class is almost phasing out. So now what is really common is the online schooling. So I think there will be a time, it will get to a point where most people will not even go to church again. They will just sit in the comfort of their home, they join church service, maybe YouTube, stream it live and stuff like that, and still get the same effect they would have gotten if they went to church.
I don't think it'll be the same effect if you're if you're in the physical location compared to when you're watching remote. To be honest, I don't think it'll be the same. Well, anything is possible. I don't want to say something is not possible. Anything is possible. But if you think about it, the people that are still going to be leading the church programs, that are going to be leading the church service, will still have to be in the church unless they're going to have a virtual church. And I don't know how that's going to work with the current technologies that we have, but I'm sure maybe in the future, there might be a situation where you can have your church virtually and you won't even have a physical location where the pastors might be preaching online, the choir can be in different locations and still sing together and it'll still flow. There won't be any delay, but anything is possible. But at the same time, you're still going to need people that will coordinate the church program, coordinate the church activities. And to be honest, going to church is all about worshiping with fellow believers, worshiping with people with similar beliefs, with similar orientation. I don't think that will ever go away. I don't think people will ever stop going to church on Sunday morning. Because if you think about it, it's an opportunity for people to meet other people. It's an opportunity to network. It's an opportunity to see people that you would not see from Monday through Friday. It's a way to maintain relationships with people. It's a way to continue to build each other up. So I don't think going to church, going to physical location will ever change. But anything is possible. But with the current situation, I don't think anything. I mean, we've been going to church for 100 years, for 200 years. It's a given that there was no technological advancement back in the days. You never can tell. Someone can come out with an innovation that will make virtual church possible. But until then,
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Let's not rule it out. It's coming. I mean, let's even look at it. Many years ago, it's believed, you're a Christian, you have to have a physical Bible and stuff like that. I can bet you a lot of Christians they don't have a physical Bible again. In fact, I remember when Pastor Chris used to preach on the TV with iPad, reading the Bible from his iPad. A lot of people criticized him. They told him that that was non-Christian, that was unchristian or whatever. But today is common. That is what is happening today. A lot of pastors, they don't. I can bet you that there are some pastors that don't have a physical copy of a Bible.
if the pastor needs to even have multiple versions of the Bible, I know there are multiple versions online as well. Yeah, it depends on your preference as an individual. It depends on your preference as a pastor. But I don't think people will be doing away with physical Bible.
I'm not saying they're doing, but I'm saying, like, I strongly believe that there are people that don't have a physical copy of the Bible. There are even pastors, I can assure you that don't have a physical copy of the Bible. They have the downloaded version. They downloaded whatever version of the Bible they want, International King James or whatever. You can download all those versions. It is easier for you to move around, to move between those versions than having like 6 different copies of the Bible on your pulpit. And many years ago, we didn't think this was possible. So many years in the future, the real estate need of the church will really shrink. Churches will not need as much space as they. That is because a lot of people will not be coming to church. Churches go virtual. It will be a virtual church. And if you really look at it, in the areas where there is insecurity, that can help, they will first adopt it in areas where they have insecurity. Let's say where Christians are persecuted for going to church and stuff like that. Let's say in the northern Nigeria. Okay. Let's say some countries where Christians are not free to gather. Yeah, that will be used to solve that problem. And from there, you'll probably go mainstream from that.
Yeah, I do agree that in areas where it's illegal for Christians to gather and worship, that is an option. At the same time, I don't know how it's gonna work. Like I said, anything is impossible. I don't want to say nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. There's a different feeling when you read a paper copy compared to when you read an electronic version. Some people, I know there are devices that when you read on it, you can make notes on your devices. You can make notes. Yeah, I agree with you. That technology has come a long way, especially with since we've transitioned from physical Bibles and now to electronic versions. Well, I mean, the technology is still evolving, and we'll continue to see changes. But I still want to believe that people can people will still go to church and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, people will definitely go to church, but I think it would just be like during the COVID. Going to church will be for like essential workers, the pastor, the choristers, and maybe the media department. Yeah, it will get to a point that it would church, physical location will just be for essential workers, and every other person can just tune in from online and then just join online. But it will get to that point, and it may not. It may not be in our lifetime, but I so much hope that get to see it. But it will get to that point.
Well, if that's a prophecy, then we need to start leveraging your prophecy now and start looking into businesses we can do that can make money and so that we're set for the future.
Before, do we even, think that it's possible to give offering, electronically, like
Yeah, you can do text to give.
we didn't even think about it before, like 20 years ago, it wasn't possible. But today it's very common that somebody that did not stand up in the church to go and, dance to the front to give offering does not mean that he did not give offering. You know, yeah, technology is evolving and is growing very fast. But I strongly believe that we'll get to a point where going to a physical location for service will just be for essential.
Until then, we'll continue to go every Sunday, continue to support our ministries, whether your local church or other ministries out there. And yeah, continue to worship God, whether you're worshiping online or you're worshiping in the physical space. Just find the time to have a relationship with God and don't be too busy with the things going on around you. Do not have a relationship with your God.
Thank you for hanging out with us. In conclusion, I believe that I believe that the church should support their members more when they are in need. And then I also think that the church shouldn't be putting people in a very uncomfortable situation to get money out of them, and do not extort money from people. Just let people give freely, and I think that is when people will feel their best. Thank you for collaboration, for sponsorship, and you can reach out to us. We can definitely arrange that. Like I said, thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you all. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, comment. Let us say your opinion on all of the things we've discussed. We look forward to having you come back and continue to watch us and see what we do. Thank you and have a good one.